For the last 20 years, I've worked on local political campaigns. I mentioned Janet Wolf. I've also worked with Assemblymember Monique Limon when she ran for the school board in 2010. Worked with Margaret Connell, the original mayor of Goleta, helped get her re-elected to the Goleta City Council. And then most recently, I helped get Kyle Richards elected to the Goleta City Council. And for the last probably 10, 15 years of my life, I've increasingly gotten more involved in nonprofits. So being the executive director for a couple of years at the Stowe House in Goleta, helping to get their history education center built and properly implemented, getting the exhibits fabricated, raising a couple $100,000 for the Arboretum project, the beautiful historic gardens. Many of you have been to events for the Environmental Defense Center or community events at the Stowe House, so we help to restore all the gardens and to help protect that community treasure, the Angro. And I'm someone who's had a lot of experience in this community, working in nonprofits, working in local politics, and I think I can make a real difference. And for Goleta, what Katrina said, what happens in Goleta doesn't stay in Goleta. Well, let me talk about that a little bit. Traffic here is because Goleta has grown a lot. We've built our share of housing in the last couple of years. In fact, we built our share, Santa Barbara share, Carpinteria share. We built a lot of housing in the last few years. And some of that's been good. Some of that's been the kind of growth we need, but unfortunately too much of it hasn't been the kind of growth that we've needed. It's retail strip malls that we don't need. It's luxury rentals. It's the other reason that I'm running is I see a need. I see a need to talk about issues that just don't get enough attention. And one of the ones that really motivates me is childcare. For most families, childcare is the second biggest expense that they encounter on a day-to-day basis, on a monthly basis. They have their housing cost, and the next is childcare. And so they're juggling. They're probably not going to have their kids in licensed care because there's not enough licensed care spaces. And I want to do something about that. I want affordable, accessible, quality childcare. And with Goleta being a young city and a new city, we're only 16 years old. We just got our learner's permit. We have the ability to be nimble and agile. We have the ability to try things and do things in a way where you can see if it works, and if it works, great. And if it doesn't, you throw it out, you try something else. What if we had a program like Aspen, Colorado, or Seattle, Washington, where you actually, if you lived in Goleta, by virtue of being a resident, whether it's an own home or a renter, you get a little bit of help with your child care. What if you, depending on your income, made $300 extra every month that could go towards licensed child care? What if your income wasn't so great, and we could subsidize half the cost of care? And the only rule is it has to be licensed care, because we need to get ahead of this, and cities are the places where it can happen. The federal government is cutting money for children and youth all across the board. Look at the most recent budget. And that's not our Goleta values, that's not our Santa Barbara values. Just because the president says, hey, I want to cut $12 billion from the Children's Health Insurance Initiative, doesn't mean that we can't stand up locally for our kids and try and do something and do things a little bit different here. The things that I've worked on over the years, the experience that I've had, the relationships I've built have really allowed me to have the honor of being endorsed by a lot of great people. Education leaders like Katrina Rogers, like our former Goleta school board member for 11 years, Janet Wolf, who served our community before she became a county supervisor helping our children. Education leaders like our Assemblymember Monique Limon. Environmental leaders like Hannah Jackson, Linda Crotson, or Brian Troutline. And other political leaders. I'm so honored to have the support of the majority of the Goleta City Council, the majority of the Goleta Planning Commission, the majority of the Goleta School Board. I also have the support of the mayor of Santa Barbara and a couple of the members of the City Council. And that's going to be important as we're dealing with the airport, as we're dealing with growth, as we're dealing with a lot of these regional issues. What happens in Goleta impacts traffic in Santa Barbara. What Santa Barbara does to the airport impacts Goleta. These things are all interrelated. And I think we have an opportunity to do some things in Goleta that can be innovative and really chart a course for what the county might do, what the city of Santa Barbara might do, and other communities. So I'm so thankful to have the endorsements of so many community leaders, and I would love to have your support and your help too. Those of you who haven't signed up yet, I would love your support. I'd love to talk to you about how I can earn your support.